So we're going to also be looking at the unification of Italy, which started in the late 1850s and was mostly done by 1860, but there were some pieces that were not added in until 1866 and 1870. We'll get to that. So just to remind you, these are the Italian states before 1860. Much of this region was controlled in the north by Austria, and that had been part of the settlement at the Congress of Vienna. One of our strongest governments was the government of Piedmont, Sardinia, which was led by a monarch, and Sardinia was given the region of Piedmont at the Congress of Vienna because they were to be a check on France's southern border. So if we look at our nationalist leaders, we have four of them. I'm going to start with the black and white photo of Giuseppe Mazzini, who's thought of really as the heart of Italian nationalism. And you don't have to memorize these different body parts, but just to help you differentiate who is who. He is a romantic nationalist who had failed revolts in 1831 and 1848. Trying to create a republic in Italy. We have Count Cavour, who is sometimes thought of as the head of Italian nationalism. He used mostly realpolitik in order to create a northern Italian state and then combine it in with southern Italy. We have Giuseppe Garibaldi and his red shirts. He was a Republican and really he thought of himself as a freedom fighter, fighter being the operative word, staging revolts throughout southern Italy in order to overthrow the monarchy in the Kingdom of the Two Sicilies. And then we have King Victor Emmanuel II, the wave, and that is more like the hand. Like he was ended up being a constitutional monarch, and the main power was in Count Cavour, and so he was more one of those smile and wave type of monarchs. We can think of Piedmont, Sardinia as being the magnet that other Italian states were drawn to. So if you want to think about Italian unification, rather than thinking about all of these different disparate areas just suddenly gelling together, I think it's more accurate to think about them being attracted to being part of the kingdom of Piedmont, Sardinia. We'll talk about why that is in just a minute, but just to remind you, there is some opposition to Italian unification, particularly from Pope Pius IX. He had been driven out of Rome by revolts in 1848 and actually is still under the protection of the French government, and he was opposed to nationalism, opposed to liberalism, partly because he had seen the impacts of those ideals on what it did to the Catholic Church in France during the French Revolution. So if we think about the unification of Italy and Piedmont, Sardinia as being this magnet, part of it is because of the work of Count Camillo Benso di Cavour. He was the Prime Minister of Sardinia and had started out as an editor of a newspaper called Il Risorgimento, which means the resurgence. So it's a nationalist newspaper. Some of the things that he promoted while he was Prime Minister of Sardinia was an active government role in the economy and creating infrastructure like railroads, and that helps Sardinia industrialize and become wealthier. There was also the law on convents and the Saccardi law. The law on convents and Saccardi law decreased the influence of the Catholic Church in Sardinia, and so that was something that appealed to more liberals. Now he is a count, he's a member of the nobility, and he wanted to protect those some of those conservative interests from republicanism and socialism, and so he was appealing to the upper class and the middle class with these policies. Another thing that Cavour did is he met with Napoleon III at a place called Plomier. And at Plomier, he was trying to recruit Napoleon III to help him drive the Austrian forces out of the other northern Italian states. Okay. So here is Victor Emmanuel, the King of Sardinia, meeting Napoleon III at Plomier. And this is like a, kind of a beach resort town. And the decisions that they made there were that these two little areas where it says Realpolitik, Nice, that's not nice, but Nice and Savoy would be given to France in exchange for French aid against the Austrians. And this is an example of Realpolitik because they were not asking the people of Nice and Savoy whether or not they wanted to be ceded to France. It was a political decision in order to kind of see their larger goal of removing Austria. Austria declared war on Sardinia in 1859, but with the help of France, they were able to be defeated. And these areas were acquired by Piedmont Sardinia in 1860. That was not Napoleon III's intent. He didn't want a united Italy. He was just trying to get rid of Austria, but Napoleon III was not that great at foreign power stuff and foreign affairs. In the southern part of Italy, kind of happening concurrently or at the same time, but not planned by Victor Emmanuel or Cavour. Giuseppe Garibaldi landed in southern Italy, and he and his red shirt started out as a small group, but grew in number and ended up basically taking control of Naples and the kingdom and of the two Sicilies. So southern Italy was, they threw out their monarch and wanted to create a republic, and that was Garibaldi's plan. He was a Republican. Some other additions that were added in the kingdom, one of the sticky issues was that the Papal States was still protected by France after those revolutions of 1848. The French government kind of got stuck there, continuing to support the Pope. But the rest of Italy was united because Victor Emmanuel wanted to be a constitutional monarch and unite all of Italy. Garibaldi wanted Italy to be a republic, but have a united Italy. Garibaldi ended up leaving his dream of a republic in order to see the dream of a united Italy. So we really have two isms that Garibaldi is looking for. He wants republicanism, and he also wanted nationalism and a united Italy. He felt that it would be more practical to let go of the dream of a republic in order to see Italy all united without a really bloody struggle in the north, fighting against those more conservative leaders in the north. And so Italy was united and became a constitutional monarchy. Okay. So there's our little circle around the Papal States. Okay. And the area where Garibaldi liberated, as he would say it. Okay. Here he is Garibaldi meeting Victor Emmanuel, and he kind of hands over his sword to Victor Emmanuel, doing this representative that he is not going to fight for Italy to be united, that Victor Emmanuel, the King of Sardinia, can be the one to kind of put the final stamp on it and have it be completed. The two areas that were not politically united within Italy at this point in 1861 were Venice and the Papal States. The Venice was given as terms of the Austro-Prussian War in 1866, given from Austria to Italy. That was part of those generous terms they were given. And Italy finally took over Rome and the area of the Papal States in 1870. Why 1870? Because Napoleon III was busy fighting the Franco-Prussian War. Unification did not make Italy all sunshine and roses. It had some more challenges than, say, Germany did after unification, particularly a weak government. If you think about Cavour as kind of being like the Italian equivalent of someone like Bismarck, he died soon after Italy was unified, and they just didn't have a strong leader to take his place. There was also a lot of church hostility toward the unification of Italy, the Pope wrote the Syllabus of Errors in 1864, partially in response to Italian unification. There were also poor economic conditions, contrasted with the more industrial Northern Europe. Southern Europe was more agrarian, and particularly in southern Italy, was still very agricultural. There was a financial crash in 1873 that hit southern Italy throughout Europe, but it had a large impact on southern Italy. And so we saw a lot of emigration from southern Italy at that time period. Italy lacked some of the major raw materials that were necessary for industrialization. So and they have some supplies of coal and iron in the northern sections around Milan, but not an abundance like we would see in Germany or Belgium. Also, Italian militarism was weaker than some of the other nations. They just don't have a history of having a strong military built up over, a professional army like we've seen in France for hundreds of years, in Prussia, or the navy power of Great Britain. And their ambition for colonies was they were kind of late to the game in that because they were late unifying. We'll get to that in the next module. And also when they actually tried to get colonies, sometimes they were unsuccessful, and that was a real damper on nationalism as well. So while we do have this unification, Italy doesn't really change the balance of power in Europe the way the unification of Germany did in 1871.